Are you?
I'm okay. How are you, Frank?
Okay, not too bad.
Can you hear me fine? I was having trouble with my audio, but we tried to switch things up. Is it fine?
Yeah, it works good.
The only thing is, are you able to turn your camera so it's horizontal? Yeah, that's much better.
Hello?
Hi, I lost.
Yeah, somehow the video got lost. I'm trying to figure out.
Hold on. I can ask you to join video again.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Awesome.
Although I can't see you, or myself.
I'll tell you, you're good right there, actually. Are you holding it or is it resting against something?
No, I'm just holding it.
Okay. If this is good for you, it's fine with me.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. First of all, if you're comfortable, tell me about your son's journey. You kind of told me earlier, but what happened? When did this start?
2 weeks ago today, he came down with fever and some aches and pains and flu-like symptoms, and then had a weird skin sensation. So some of the stuff that we had been reading about. So by Sunday, his cough was bad enough. I took him for a test through the emergency room, and he ended up being admitted to the hospital for 2 days with fairly minor symptoms, and then came home for Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday afternoon, wasn't feeling right. A new cough developed that was progressively getting a little more intense during the day. Called the pediatrician. They had us get him blood work during the morning so we would be ready for the doctor's appointment. And the same time I was calling them, the blood work came back and it was quadrupled instead of going down. So they said, bring him back to the ER. At which point I brought him downtown to the Cleveland Clinic. And at that point, it just kind of all went from there. He then started requiring oxygen in the emergency room, and they admitted him to the step-down unit to the ICU on Thursday. Overnight, he got a little bit worse. His oxygen saturation was a little worse, and they had to give him a little bit of a different kind of a breathing device just over his face to deliver his oxygen more strongly. And then overnight, they got him to sleep. I was with him in the morning. He was okay. Still on the machine, giving him oxygen. And then somewhere around 1 or 1:30, he just kind of took a nosedive, and the oxygen wasn't enough anymore. By the time I got downtown, they were just getting ready. I went with him and to the ICU, and like 15 minutes later, he was intubated. So he's been there since last Friday. So today's the 8th day, and he's still on a ventilator. He is making some progress, so that's good. We have been able to Facetime him. The clinic's doing that with us now twice a day through an iPad, so it's nice to at least see him. We're trying to keep him stable and under enough sedation that he's comfortable, but today he was able to actually give us a thumbs up and shake his head yes to us, things like that. So that's kind of where we are today.
First of all, how old is your son?
17.
So wait, Frank, would it be easier if you rested the camera on something for you?
I can try. Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Yeah, if you want to rest it on something.
I had my bum hand.
That even looked good.
All right. Is that good?
Yeah, that's better. So much better. Okay. He's 17, you said?
Yeah, 17 years old. He's going to be an incoming senior at Mayfield High School.
What kind of support have you received from this community?
Well, that's part of why I wanted to, reach out, and, our support system has been phenomenal, way more than we ever thought. We are a spiritual family, raised all of our kids Catholic, and we've got the support of not only the church community, which, as I'm finding out day by day, there's thousands of people around the world in 7 countries now that have prayer chains going for him, which is just incredible to me. There's over 6,000 shares as of this morning. The other part of it is our Mayfield community and where we live, the school community. The outreach has just been tremendous, whether people just text or post or help us pray, or we've gotten a lot of deliveries of food, and just the support, the small things, sending us old pictures of Nick, or reminiscing about times with him. It's been really nice for Mom and I just to pass the time, because we can't see him, and it's very difficult for us because we haven't seen him for 8 days. So our school superintendent, Dr. Kelly's, reached out to us, and it's just been great. And it just tells a lot about my son, because he is the kid that gives first before anything else. And I know him as dad, and anybody would say that, but anybody that knows him will tell you it's true. He started his own Relay for Life team several years ago to raise money for cancer for his grandmother and a friend of his that passed away. So he did his own team and raised money. Ironically enough, he started 2 months ago making masks for COVID. He was working 6 or 8 hours a day with my wife, and they were making masks and selling them. And he donated some of that money to the MAC Foundation, which is a Mayfield organization that gives money to families in need. So that's just him. He's involved in our church community with youth group type things, as my older son was. So he is that kid. He sings at church. He's very spiritual. He's been asked to go on retreat. So people know that, and that's why I think we're receiving so much support, which, like I said earlier, it's just phenomenal, especially because we can't see him, and all we do is sit here all day and wait for the phone to ring. So it's nice to have something to pass the time.
Does it help? Does it help you through this when you see people reaching out from this community and around the world?
Yeah, it does. Part of it is, you want to maintain the privacy, and, certain things like that. And of course you're going to get, it invites comments and people asking questions and giving advice that's not necessarily based on medical facts. And that caused a little bit of trouble, but by and large, absolutely helps. The messages that we're getting and the old photos and the stories just bring tears to our eyes. And it's just something that helps Mom and I. Every day we tell him, we told him this morning he was fairly awake, and we're sharing with him everything that he gets. And, when he gets out of this, which I'm sure he will, I told him if it takes a month, I'm going to make sure I share every comment, post, food delivery, all that kind of stuff. Anything that was done for him, I want to make sure that he knows what a community, or, we're an Italian family, so, we're used to the food and the large gatherings, and that's great to be in that. But we also have a great school system and community where we live that has just done more than we could ever ask for. So although it's a very unnerving situation, and it's a nightmare that you just don't wake up from, it's absolutely critical for us to have the support that we're getting.
Frank, can I just ask you, just turn it a little bit because the clock's coming out of your head. Turn, if you can move a little bit out of, it doesn't matter right or left. That's much better. Yeah.
There we go.
Talk to me, if you don't mind. You said, first of all, I cannot imagine you not being there with him. I'm sure if you could be by his side, you would rush there. What is it like FaceTiming him while he's in the ICU? Is he in the ICU?
So, yes, he is. Okay. So the first time that we did it, he was heavily sedated because he was not responding. Every time they tried to lessen his sedation, his numbers weren't good, and he was desaturating his oxygen, so it was not safe for him. The first time we did with him was Wednesday nights, and he was completely out of it. So he didn't hear us. He didn't move. So, it was very difficult. That was the first time Mom saw him on the ventilator. The second time, I only saw him briefly, just when we rushed him to ICU. They let me see him for 2 minutes. So that was difficult, but we knew he was out of it, wasn't feeling any pain. Yesterday, both times we called him, he was awake and alert somewhat, was able to somewhat communicate with us with blinking his eyes. And, it was very difficult because he was clearly scared, didn't want us to go, and we said we had to say goodbye, and he was in tears. And we promised ourselves we wouldn't let him see that. We wanted to remain strong for him. But it was very hard. Today was much better because they're starting to lessen his sedation a little more. And he was actually able to thumbs up us. He shook his head yes when we asked a few questions. And the heart warmer was he actually held his hands up and he made a heart with his fingers. So that was incredible to see, even though we can't be with him. He was definitely more comfortable today and responsive, and that's him putting the heart out to Mom and I, and his grandparents were here this morning on the FaceTime, worried about us. The first thing he's going to want to do when he gets out of this is want to know how he can give back, because so many people have given to him. And ironically enough, he wants to be a pediatric nurse. He's in a nursing program at his high school for the Excel Tech program. So he'll be doing his final year. He already got his STNA certificate, so he can actually work in a hospital already. Unfortunately, COVID didn't allow him this summer, but he is well suited to give back in that way as well by being a nurse, because he's had chronic health issues and been in the hospital before. So he's lived in and out for a while. So he just chose a profession that he's going to be able to give back.
What are you going to do when your son leaves that hospital? What's the first thing you want to tell him, you want to do with him?
So my son is an avid fisherman. He would spend 24 hours a day if he could fishing. So we're going to bring him right down to the water and let him fish. He's going to have a host of people come by, whether it's just a drive-through parade or whatever. I don't know what they're going to let him do, what he's going to be able to do when he gets home, what his restrictions will be, but definitely he's going to want to see people. But fishing is definitely number one. We tell him every time we talk to him. He had just ordered, the other sad thing is, just before he got sick, he was fishing down by Lake Erie by himself, and somebody stole $1,000 worth of fishing equipment out of his car. And it brought tears to our eyes. It's somebody, because he's such a good kid, and somebody stole from him. So he ordered, just like him, ordered himself a nice expensive fishing rod on Amazon, and the fishing rod came the 2 days before he got sick. He was just waiting for his reel. So the reel came the other day, and we've been telling him we're leaving it in the box so you can put it on that pole and get that rod in the water. So that's what he's going to want to do.
So no one else in your household got sick?
No.
Wow.
We've been all tested. My oldest son has asthma, and I'm immunocompromised. So you would think that we would get it. He's 17. His other health issues have nothing to do with COVID. They're not on the list of illnesses that kind of make you predisposed at all. It's my son and I, and knock on wood, healthy as we can be. So
do you know how he got it?
Beneficial. Nope. No, and what we found out was that there's no rhyme or reason. They keep telling us that he shouldn't have gotten it in the first place, and it's super rare that he's in critical condition and such bad shape. So we kind of gave that up after a few days, because it doesn't matter now. We just kind of want him better. The other thing I just wanted to kind of put out there is, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of good information, but there's a lot of bad. We've learned through this that a lot of people get their information from the wrong sources, and this is part of the issue we get. People are giving us advice on things that aren't really medically proven, and there are accurate ways to get the news. And I think your motto for Channel 3 News of being fear and not or facts not fear is absolutely true. And we're finding that it doesn't help when you get that. So part of what I want to tell people is, go to the correct sources, go to your county board of health, go to the COVID hotlines. Even our own, son's doctor's office didn't know a lot about it, and everybody's kind of learning. So when there's so much information out there, it could be information overload, and you can get some stuff that's not really accurate. So I just urge people, if they're really, concerned. We learned a ton in the last 2 weeks, things that I never knew, and I'm glad, I know where to go for the source. So when I have questions, I know to go to the right place, and I trust in the care he's getting. We are absolutely blessed that we live in Cleveland. Cleveland Clinic is at the top of the COVID game. They've been involved in almost every major study. They know which current drugs work, which ones do not work, and they're just absolutely incredible.
What gosh, what was I going to ask? When do the doctors think he'll get out?
That we don't know right now, because of the condition he's in. We get updates in the morning and we get them in the evening. So it's really half-day updates, and all they tell us is this is not going to be a process that ends very fast. They know that COVID, the attack on the lungs and the recovery is very, very slow. It's painfully slow. There were days we didn't get any news of any progress whatsoever, and it's frustrating, but they reassured us that this is not uncommon. It takes a very long time. So right now, their main goal is to keep him safe and get him to the point where they can try to wean him off of the breathing machine.
Well, you mentioned he had some chronic issues. Is that correct? Like what has he dealt with?
So he had stomach issues and, vomiting for many, many years that nobody figured out. And ironically, we found our cure through social media. Somebody reached out to my wife and somebody that had something similar, and we ended up going down to a children's hospital in Cincinnati, and they properly diagnosed him, and he's been much better since. He had a brain tumor removed in 2010 out in Phoenix, Arizona. So things like that, but none of the things he's faced are on the list of things that kind of make him more susceptible for the COVID. So that's what's kind of frustrating.
I have to ask, Frank, what is it like being a parent and not being able, you're stuck at home while he's
That's probably the worst part, that we can't see him. It's been great now that we get to FaceTime him twice a day, so he has something to look forward to pass him, a couple hours pass, and then he knows he'll see us, then he can go to sleep, wake up in the morning and see us. But the first few days were awful because we've been with him anytime he's been sick. Mom or I have always been in the hospital with him. We've never left him alone. He's been all over the country in the hospital, and we've been there right by him. So it's hard because we know, even though he's 17, he's still a little kid inside, and they get scared. And especially when you're in a situation with a tube in your throat, it's terrifying, for us. The other part, though, is part of it I'm thankful for, because sitting there all day, listening to the buzzers and the noises and the alarms and watching him choke and not swallow well, and probably would be a little tough. So it's a little bit of both. But it's definitely, I could say we're mentally and physically drained beyond belief.
You miss him, Frank. I can tell so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we miss our buddy. But we're hopeful that we'll get back to what life is about. And there's a lot of summer left and a lot of warm weather. I keep telling him he'll have time to fish, and go out on the boats and do the things that he likes to do, like any other kid his age does in the summer, and hang out with his friends. He misses his friends. He's got a really good group of friends, and they've been reaching out and talking to their parents about it, and it's just great. It's wonderful.
What would you say, Frank, to people who think this won't affect me? Let me go out, do as I do, and.
We're living proof of that. I was kind of one of those people as well. I live on facts, though, like I said before, not fear. And I know it's still rare. It's not going to be very common for other kids or people to get it as serious as he did. But, there are things now that are being recommended of people, and, that aren't, for the short term, it's, something that's not comfortable. But then I look and see him with a tube down his throat. And, the alternative is that. So, listen to what people are saying right now, wear your masks where you need to, live your life. The other side is, you can't stay in the house and not live your life or not go anywhere, because that's not good either. There's a mental health aspect to all of this. But what I would tell people is just get the facts. Don't think you're invincible, and get the facts. Be safe, live your life, but be safe.
So from the day I'm almost done, Frank. From the day that he started getting the cough, how many days later was he on the ventilator?
1 week. So he started getting sick on Friday, went to the hospital on Sunday, came home on Tuesday, and then went back Thursday, and then was on a ventilator a week later. But he was progressively getting worse, but not to the point where I really ever was nervous until Thursday, when we went back to the ER and they had to put him on oxygen, and he was still struggling on the oxygen. And then Thursday he kept going downhill overnight, a little bit downhill. But I say in a matter of 6 hours, he went from talking, texting, drinking, sitting up in the bed, talking to me. Within about 8 hours, he was on a ventilator. So that's how fast it went.
So there's some days that you don't know. There are hours go by and you have no idea what's going on.
Right. And that's what they tell us is, you don't hear from us other than the scheduled time. Assume that he's safe and he's stable. If we call you outside of those hours, there's probably something going on. So we've been fairly lucky to not get many of those calls. And we just get our normal updates. But, when you're only getting a 5-minute update twice a day, there's a lot of hours in between that you wonder, what's actually going on. But we're at the point now where we trust that no news is good news. So, I don't sit with the phone 2 inches from my ear as much. It's always in my hand, but I'm not staring at it. Keep checking to make sure I didn't miss a call as much anymore, because I trust in, what they said.
How's your wife doing?
Okay. She's pretty tough. She's, she does everything with him, and he's her shadow, I call it. He goes everywhere with her, and they just have a really special bond. And, so she's missing him terribly, like everybody is. But, when he talks to her, you can tell that he knows. So, but she's hanging on. She knows, we're very hopeful and prayerful that this will turn out okay. I don't care how long it takes. I just want him to tell me that he's going to be out of the woods.
You miss him a lot. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Anything else I'm missing, Frank?
No, I think it's pretty much about him. We're just blessed to live in the Mayfield community. Our school district has been great. His teachers, the superintendent, the principal, constantly reach out, email us, ask what we need. They've got both, my wife works at the middle school, and the middle school and the high school have his name and prayers up on the marquees. And it's pretty neat to see that kind of stuff. So.
And I'm sure he knows how much love he's getting. I know you said that when he gets out, you'll share, but he must feel it somehow.
Oh yeah, we absolutely. We tell him every time we talk to him now, we tell him about all the people that are praying for him. Our church community, we go to Our Lady Chapel through Gilmore, and Father John there is reaching out every morning. I could tell he's petrified for him. It's just very comforting. I know Nick likes to talk to his brother every morning when he calls in the afternoon, and sometimes we have to give the phone away because we break our rule of not crying or breaking down. But, Big Brother's there to talk and keep the emotion out of it and just kind of be there for him. So it's really good for us for that. And we're blessed. We've got church community, the school community, and just our, the area we live in has just been fabulous.
Do you feel like you have to be strong for him?
Oh, of course. Always have been. I've always been the one that does the medical research, calls the doctors, fights the insurance companies, looks for experimental things for him. And he knows that, he knows that. And, we know that's why when we talk to him, our goal is to just reassure him, that he'll be okay. And we're trying not to get too emotional with him so that he doesn't get any more scared than he is already.
You think he's scared?
Yeah, he is. I think, any kid would. And he, his doctor told me today that they asked him if he knew what was going on. And he shook his head no. So they actually spent 15 minutes explaining to him the last 7 days or 8 days and what's been going on. We know when we try today was better, but we tried to hang up with him yesterday a couple times because he was getting too excited and emotional that he was crying a lot, and his numbers, the alarms were going off, and you can just tell that he was, really scared. But I think the Facetiming really yesterday settled him down. The nursing staff has been terrific. Every time they're on FaceTime with us, they're stroking his head or, keeping him calm with his breathing and wiping his tears. And so we've been lucky.
Thank you so much for talking with us. This will be on
Sure.
tonight at 11. And Frank, if you could, I'm sure you have a ton of pictures of him. The more, the merrier. Anything you want to send. I won't heckle you. I know you have a lot going on, but when he gets out, I would love eventually to speak with him if he's willing. He seems like an amazing kid.
He is. He is. Yeah, I sent you a few pictures. I think probably 8 so far. I was just having some problems with my email, so I got 8 of them so far.
And I got them.
Okay.
AT&T, is that what it will come from?
Yes.
Perfect.
There's two rounds. It should say pick 1 and pick 2.
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So
awesome.
I'm gonna find a few more and I'll send them over.
Thank you so much. If there's anything else you need, you have my cell.
Thank you very much.
All right. Praying for you guys. All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you.